Hello there and welcome back to Alpine. Today we are going to hopefully get done more than just a one race like last time in Austria. So I assume I called it Australia at some point because I'm getting clowned on in the comments for the, well, kangaroos. So my bad there, but yeah, hopefully we'll do more than one race, probably two, maybe three, we'll see. But that is going to be the goal. Also, just a little bit of a heads up here, it's been getting colder lately in Norway. Particularly today has been fairly cold, which has led me to being a little bit sniffly. So I apologize for that if you hear some sniffles throughout this video. Now with that said, we're just going to jump directly in and we are going to get started here. We have Great Britain coming up and we have a still healthy lead over Red Bull. If we can maintain that. We also have a healthy-ish lead in the championship. It is still very close. I still think Piastri is going to get it by the end. But the goal is going to be to try and hold Red Bull off in the constructors. And that is going to be probably a little bit challenging. Let's be perfectly honest. Currently also here, we have a research getting finished very, very soon. But it looks like we have jumped over to the next month. So we need to get something sorted first. Point there in cornering for Gasly. Affiliate driver Verstappen is doing okay by the looks of it. And we're going to go ahead and set up a pit crew training schedule. Now, we already have fairly decent chance of mistake. It's been sorted. So we're actually going to go ahead and just use the pit stop time as our base training preset. Remove anything that isn't pit stop training. And from there, we're going to go ahead and kind of sort things out, and already we can see that we are missing a little bit of training as we go into the British GP. We're going to go ahead and get that sorted. And as you can see, for some reason the first day of the month just doesn't register for training, so make sure that you have at least 10% fatigue on the first day of the month. However, this one looks good. We can actually put in, I think, one more training session here. We can, yeah, 5%, so that works out just perfectly. And looking at what we are going into Hungary and Belgium with, I think we're going to have to remove a couple of sessions from both of these, like so. 8 and 0, yeah, basically regain 9% a day, so both of these are acceptable. However, after Belgium it is going to be summer break, so let's just go ahead and put in a little bit extra training here so that we ensure that we're above 10% going into that first day of next month. This looks fine. Let's go ahead and get that sent in. Like so. Research should be completing now. And apparently Verstappen also went down to 90 overall. So Verstappen is not enjoying his life as an affiliate, I guess we could say. And our front wing reset is complete. We got about 15% airflow front. And I would believe we got about the same in low speed. Yeah, about 14%-ish. So that works out just fine. We also have wind tunnel data concern. We're gonna prove, I guess. But yeah, Verstappen did lose a little bit of performance here. And we're gonna go ahead and start the new research. I did make a mistake, however, and you really should have I really should have started research before I accepted the wind tunnel concern. But here's what it is. Deal with that later on. But with that said, let's just jump into Silverstone here. Should be a pretty straightforward one. Memorabilia room is completed. And we are now ready to get started. So, first, we're expected 7th and 8th here, I assume. And again, we're just getting paid for getting 16 to higher. So, race goals again in this patch 1.7 and every patch before it is just free money if you build your car right. Because the way that the current overall ranking takes things into account, the way that the ranking system works, I'm pretty sure it takes into account your engine as well. That's the only thing that makes sense. It takes into account your engine as well, which means that if you're running a Renault engine or a Mercedes engine, you already have a disadvantage for against anyone that's running a Ferrari or a Red Bull engine in terms of ranking, but it's huge for getting extra money. But yeah, let's see what Great Britain has to offer us. Qualifying starts off great with Ocon having a classic here. Not as skillful as Verstappen's in Hungary, but still. it is what happens. And to make matters worse, Shohei has apparently crashed. So an interesting qualifying session so far. We'll have to see where we end up. That is actually interesting camera angle, but looks like he survived with just front wing damage. So Ocon wasn't happy with just one mistake this qualifying session. He had to pull off another one. Another spin. So Ocon is still doing my head in. Let's hope he doesn't do any of those during the race itself. But quality's still looking good. It's a bit of a shame that this was his final kind of fast lap. He was on for an improvement, as you can see here, in both sectors. And he could potentially here have, I think, the car probably not higher than third, but he would have had, as mentioned, a bit of an improvement. And that would have been neat. Now, unfortunately, I don't think we have time for another run here unless just take manual control here in order to speed them in. If I take manual control on the out lap, Gasly might be able to... Nah, we don't have time. Which is a bit unfortunate there because Ocon spin kind of ruined Gasly's lap too. But let's see here how exactly this quali ends up turning out. We're down into 5th and 6th, 7th and 8th. So as you can imagine, getting that improvement would have been huge. And for Ocon's sake here, if he's just improved by a couple of tenths, could put him up into 4th place. So it does hurt a little bit, but it's not a bad thing. As mentioned before, I prefer qualifying a little bit lower than where the car is supposed to be, because that gives you a better chance of building confidence at the start of races. And that's kind of what we are banking on here in order to ensure that we don't end up in trouble. And strategy here, let's see what we have available to us. It's the same one that is suggested for both cars, 2 softs and medium. Let's see if we can make it a little bit faster. Can we do something like this and make it work? Kind of tempted to do something a little bit sneaky by using the medium first, but again, we're using the soft first because we get the temperature for free. And it would be about the same in terms of pace as this one. This one does. Honestly, freedom with both these strategies is kind of the same. I think we'll just stick with the through and tested, if you will. Which is just burn the medium, take care of the softs, and try and make something out of the race. I think that is just going to be the best strategy here. That is what we're going to be employing. And we are, of course, going to go ahead and underfuel. It's just straight up the fastest. And the AI does take advantage of that too. So we should as well. Okay, I think we're ready. Let's just jump into the British Grand Prix here, Silverstone, and see if we can snatch a bit of a win here. Lights out, away we go. Bit of a decent start here for Ocon. Unfortunately, a bad start from Drugovic means that he was not able to take advantage. And although we are falling a little bit backwards here, the main thing that we do at the start here now, we just take care of our tires. We allow them to fight. But that doesn't actually stop him from just making that overtake stick. And we're already up one car, giving Ocon a nice little early boost of confidence. And the same here for Gasly. Get a couple more overtakes like this and we'll peak. And again, just the confidence boost there is pretty nice to have. It's going to make our drivers a lot quicker. So there is a method to the madness, but for now we'll settle in. We'll see what we can do. But I think we're in a very, very good position now, right off the start. We've had a bit of an incident further down the order here. I believe it is Albon and Stroll. So let's take a look here and see what happened. It is in fact Stroll. And a little bit of a little bit of an unfortunate incident there. In terms of our race though, things are going well. Ocon is fighting a little bit with the McLaren, but that's not really a huge problem. We have caught up to Hamilton here, and we are about 4 seconds off the podium. But with the tyre advantage that we now hold, particularly over Hamilton, and Science 2 for that matter, who's absolutely destroyed his hard tire, I don't think we'll have too many problems catching up to them before they start hitting. And even if we kind of struggle a little bit, we also do have that little bit of attack towards the end of the stint that we can take advantage of. And I think we will do fairly well here. Probably, maybe not podium-wise, but probably 4th and 5th. We're now getting close to the pit sequence, and as you can see here, we have caught up a little bit with Sainz. We're just a couple of seconds behind now. Sainz is probably going to pit this lap. We have Drugovic here, who's gone below 30% now and is now losing a lot of time. And Sainz actually stays out, which means that we're probably going to get the overtake done right about now. But Piastri has pitted, and honestly, I don't think we can beat him this time out. Piastri and Norris, both of them are really, really quick. They're running together. And that's going to make our life a little bit harder here. But I would imagine Sainz will be stepping aside and going into the pits now. Let's see if Gasly can get that overtake done. He's basically about to steal that rear wing as with how close he is. And yeah, getting that overtake done with ease. Peak confidence for, I believe, both of our lads here, and that is going to make us a little bit quicker. We are pushing now in preparation of getting into the pits. And once we come out of the pits, we're probably going to be somewhere around Hamilton, is what I assume here. Yeah, 22 seconds. Probably going to be somewhere around Hamilton for Gasly, and for Ocon a little bit behind him. So gonna be an interesting one. Sainz also didn't lose as much time as you expected here. He's 21 seconds behind, so he didn't lose the full 22. But yeah, for Gasly now, I think we are gonna push and get him in this lap. Although it's not really a big deal. I would love to get out ahead of Hamilton and Sainz if possible. So let's go ahead and deploy here. Use a little bit of that energy to make our lap a little bit quicker. And for Ocon here, he is definitely coming out behind Hamilton, ahead of Drugovic, which is fine. It's not a bad place to be. That works out just fine for us and our purposes. Let's see now if Gasly has a clean stop and if he has extended the gap somewhat. Not really, let's be honest. Excuse me, itchy nose. Let's see how this double stack goes. We should have plenty of space here, so it shouldn't actually be an issue. But where is Sainz? He is going through the final corner. Gasly had a clean one. He is coming out just behind Sainz and Hamilton there, and that is a little bit unfortunate. So I think what we're going to do now is just run harvest for this first lap while we heat up the tires, and we're going to try and use energy to get by them. But Gasly and Ocon, to a lesser degree here, will be fighting for a potential podium, I think. As we're getting close to the end of this race, Sainz has developed a mechanical fault. Since it says it cannot push, I assume it is going to be the engine. That is going to make things a little bit spicier here. It is in fact the engine that has been hit with that. Now, everyone around us is pushing extremely hard, in particular Norris here, as you can see. So I'm a little bit unsure what I should do. We could actually start going full attack here, probably next lap or the lap after, to try and close down and catch up to them. We are a slower car altogether, if you want to look at it that way. But Ocon here, unfortunately, he is probably not going to catch up and be, a part of this. But for Gasly, he definitely has a podium on lock. The question is just how much can we do here against Sainz? Can we lock him down, push him down a little bit further down the order? That would be huge, honestly, if we could. As Gasly gets that overtake done and can now start chasing down the cars ahead of us. I don't think Ocon is going to be able to close down 11 seconds in 5 laps, even with Sainz having a little bit of engine trouble here. Because as you can see, he's actually keeping up with us fairly nicely here. So that is going to be a little bit difficult. I think what we have to do here maybe is, well, never mind, Gasly has detached him. This is probably worth about 3 seconds gained. But even then, that's just not going to be enough. It's just the unfortunate reality of the situation. However, we might be able to snatch a surprise win here with Gasly. Let's see if he can close down to Norris and Piastri. And if he can, get within that DRS zone. We might go ahead and pull down the tires a little bit, but we're just barely being held off here. See, we are now within that DRS zone. We are running with them. The question here is, when do we launch the attack? Norris has made his way past. Winning here would be huge for basically both championships. Because Gasly is still in it. Let's be honest, he is still in it. But what exactly can we do here? I think we are just going to have to go full attack. We are already on high overtake aggression. And I think this is maybe when we start deploying a little bit. If we can get a cheeky overtake done. You can see that we are lacking top speed in comparison to the other two cars. That's just the reality of the situation. Ocon is also closing down enough that he might catch Sainz by the end of this. Oh, come on. That was close. Are we going 3 wide? We are. Honestly, I'm fine with sitting in second. This is actually the best place to kind of be sitting before we go into the final DRS zone, I think. But yeah, that back marker, we had to actually lift for him. We're going to have to deploy it and just try and get back within DRS. With Norris just putting on the absolute full speed push there. We might actually lose our place there too now because of that. But yeah, Norris just put on the NOS, if you will, and just started flying. The threat now is actually Piastri, but I think we're fine. We should have created a big enough gap here that he can't actually catch us. But yeah, Norris just put the car in overdrive and ran away. Ocon has also gotten Sainz here, which is great, but it is a bit of a stab through the heart that we end up losing Norris that easily. We do have the RS, we just have to defend it against Piastri, which honestly we can't do with that energy. So another race where I kind of fumbled towards the end. It is a bit unfortunate. It's very unfortunate, let's be perfectly honest, but sometimes that's just be how things go. Third and fourth, though, it's not the worst positions to finish in, but I would have loved to snatch the win here. And arguably, once again, a back market did have an effect on the race result, which is kind of just annoying more so than anything else. But yeah, Norris ended up winning. We ended up third and fourth. Still good, let's be honest, as I mentioned here. Norris is catching up, but Piastri is, again, just a bigger threat. So we're still 1-2 constructors here. Red Bull gain almost 10 points, which is pretty bad. If they keep that up, they will overtake us by the end. But it's clearly just my fault here. We should have done a much better job in assuring that did not happen to begin with. Suspension has been manufactured here, and we have a regulation mode for sporting changes. More CFD time to lower it or lower finishing teams. We will vote for this. It's going to hurt us because we're finishing probably in the top 3 this year. So we're getting less CFD time next year, but that's fine. I personally want to close the grid. If you don't, vote against this. If you do not want your time minimized, that is fine. I personally want to close the grid, as mentioned, hence why I vote for that. We do have that temporary shutdown of the design center, causing a little bit of mayhem here. Which means that we can't actually make new parts until that is kind of sorted. Which isn't a huge deal, it's more just frustrating. If anything else, Railing has also been manufactured. And Balbo has leveled up. So the tiebreaker voted it true, which means that we are getting what we voted for. Basically, top teams get less CFD next year. Science Center Fire has been sorted here, but I believe if I start manufacturing now, it's still going to be... No, it's good. It's not going to be an emergency manufacture. So that is fine. And let's also go ahead and make an extra side pod. And just get an extra chance at going too. Basically, I'm just stocking up on parts because if we get that design fire at a bad spot, it's going to be very, very costly. So let's try and avoid having that happen. Race Sim level 3 has also been upgraded. Gonna help our drivers a little bit. Maybe Verstappen won't degrade as much anymore. Race targets 16th. We are again expected 3rd place finish here. This should be one of our stronger tracks of this this season. Let's see what Hungary has to offer. For Hungary, we have qualified 6th and 7th, which isn't too terrible. And we are also going to be going with a very similar strategy for both cars. Gasly is in theory about 4 seconds quicker using this strategy than Ocon. We'll have to see if that actually comes to fruition, however. And basically, it is the best that we can do with the current tires that we have available for our car. So basically, we're a little bit limited due to strategy, just from how the car is set up. It's just how things are. And I think this is just the best we can do. We're going to underfuel. We do that every time. And we're going to try and make the most out of that light initial soft stint and a more aggressive final hard stint. We had to use an extra set of softs for both cars in qualifying, as Gasly and Ocon both had their lockups on the fast laps, which basically made the soft tires useless from just that single initial run. And apparently here we do also have some powertrain concerns. Probably should have considered replacing these before this race weekend. I didn't. And that is a little bit of a negative, I guess you could say. I actually should have gone ahead and done a little bit of fixing there. That's an oversight on my part, I'll be perfectly honest. But it's been a while since we last changed parts on this series, so I hope you can forgive me. Still kind of getting back into F1 Manager, if that makes sense. But yeah, Ocon here is already making moves on the Ferraris, which is nice to see. We do have Hamilton on hards. It would be nice to clear him basically as soon as possible. And we'll have a fairly straightforward kind of clearance here very, very soon. Porsche is actually running really, really old tires, so we should be safe from him. But yeah, the goal is very simple. We are going to try and improve as quickly as possible. Gasly got held up a little bit there, but he should catch up back to Ocon again. And I think Ocon also will be clearing the Ferrari with hard tires fairly quickly. Then we can try and chase down Sainz and Piastri again. So we'll see how this goes. We did push ERS a little bit too much here, but that shouldn't be a huge concern. Interestingly enough, Piastri has actually run his tires very, very aggressively here, and he's already down to 30% on the soft tires. Sargent has done a similar thing. But that kind of already puts Piastri a little bit on the back foot. However, we are about 5 seconds behind the lead at this point. So we too are losing out a little bit here, I'll be honest. We're also going to go ahead and turn the overtake aggression probably too low until we catch up to the other teams. Because being very aggressive here on the overtakes, it's not really helping us catch the cars ahead of us. But I'm kind of curious here what Piastri's plan is, because he's just done 12 laps before he needs to pit. So it's a very, very aggressive strategy for the McLaren. And that could probably end up backfiring on us too, because we need the McLaren to steal points from the Red Bulls. We need Piastri to be winning, not the Red Bulls. So it's a bit of a weird situation to be in right now, where we kind of need to root for Piastri, but he's elected to do a very, very aggressive and a little bit weird strategy. But maybe he can turn it around. We'll see. We're still 5-6 seconds behind the lead here, so we still have a lot to do ourselves. But hopefully we can get something done here by the end of this race. As we get closer to our own first pit stop here, we have actually caught up to Sainz, who just peeled into the pits. And we will be pitting one of these guys on the next lap. Most likely we're going to be pitting Ocon first. He has used more tire, and then we'll just be pitting Gasly on the following lap. I think that is going to work out just fine. Currently, we are still fine here with the powertrain components. We still have a high risk of ERS failure, so we do need to switch these out going into next race weekend, which should be fine. We are running the Renault engines. Durability is not as much of a concern on those, but It's not necessarily a good thing to have problems with, if you will. Let's see now. Hamilton still needs to pit. He is doing one more lap here. We might be able to undercut him. Norris still needs to pit. I don't think we'll be able to undercut him. He's just so far ahead, but it is 3 seconds. It is definitely possible. So we might be able to pull something off here. And where exactly does Gasly come out? A little bit ahead of his teammate. And if we go ahead and use a little bit of that deploy, I think undercutting here should be very, very likely. Hamilton is pitting now. Let's see a Gasly around the final corner. Hamilton is going down the pit lane here. And we're actually undercutting him with both cars. So that worked out really, really well for us. Now, let's see what we can do here again. If we can get Norris. Piastri is actually pretty far up the road here. And he might actually be going for a tree stopper here. He's already stopped once. He's very soon going to have to stop twice. So if Piastri is going for the tree stopper, that would actually be kind of amazing. I'll be honest. I would be quite amazed. No joke. Ocon here, I think we're going to go ahead and deploy a little bit and see if we can catch up to Gasly, or at least break the toe to Hamilton here, because he is being a little bit of a nuisance. We are going to jump Norris here with both cars too, which is great, but as you can see there, Hamilton did get the overtake done on Ocon. Just have to settle in behind. But all in all, it's looking good. We aren't that far behind Piastri. Just 5 and 6 seconds. He had a very bad lap, though, on that previous one. And he is running fairly slow right now because, as you can see, he's running all the tires. Hamilton is flying up the order, though. He just overtook Gasly. That's not good. Is he running a track? He seemed to be. He's using more tire than us, and he pitted after, so makes sense that he is running very, very aggressively here. We are also losing a little bit of performance simply due to the fact that we are running older components. Basically one components rather, powertrain parts. If Gasly here can actually stick with these two cars, I would actually be pretty happy. So we're going to deploy a little bit of energy, but they're definitely being very, very aggressive around here. We are getting close here now to the final pit stop, and we are running behind Hamilton. The Piastri-Norris combination is just kind of running away with it, to be fair. Sainz also, for that matter, so it actually looks like we are going to be ending up outside of the podium for this one, unfortunately. Again, the main reason for that is simply me being silly and not remembering to actually replace powertrain components, which is hurting us a bit here, I'll be honest. It is just how things have played out. And sometimes mistakes are made. But I have been making a lot lately, so try and avoid making the mistakes that I have been making. Which is, you know, easy to say, I guess you could say. Ocon now is pitting. He should come out ahead of Tsunoda with a fairly good margin here. The question for him is going to be, can he catch Sainz and anyone else by the end of this? And honestly, I'm going to probably have to say no. He's not going to catch them. For Gasly, the question is, can he get Norris and Piastri by the end of this? Probably not. He did have a clean stop, however. If we use energy, we should be able to get ahead of Hamilton again. But yeah, it's not looking very good here. Hamilton is probably a car that we can beat with Gasly, as I mentioned. It's going to be harder for Ocon, but we can deploy here and try see if we can pull something off. That is going to be, again, just a challenge here, if you will. We have a virtual safety car right now, which is going to help up the top three quite a bit. What exactly has happened? Looks like Stroll has had a bit of a strolling adventure. So what has he done here? He's crashed straight up. Yeah, that is, that's him out. That makes sense. At least he did it near a marshal post. Hamilton is pitting, and that crash is going to save him about 3 seconds. So any undercut now is going to be a lot harder. Gasly in the second to last corner. Hamilton is having a slower stop, I think, here. Did he have a pit stop issue? Maybe. Gasly does come out ahead of him, but the gap would have been a lot larger at the virtual safety car. And for Ocon now, he... Oh, not too far behind. Did Hamilton actually go to a soft tyre? 18 laps on a soft tyre around here is going to be rough. Well, not really. You can kind of see it. We did 23 laps, but we ran them light. He's going to be absolutely dead by the time we get to the end of this. Okay. It's going to be fast in the beginning. That's an interesting choice. So what does Piastri go on to? E2 uses soft. Well, I guess it makes sense. But E2 was helped a little bit by the virtual safety car.
Copy.
And honestly, if we had gone a couple of laps later, we probably would have done the same thing. Norris though pitting off the virtual safety car makes no real sense, but shouldn't really have an effect on the race here. The main thing that we just need to do now is try and maintain, honestly. We just need to try and get 4th and 5th maybe. I don't think we are getting a podium here, as mentioned. I put ourselves in a bad position. Norris actually went onto an older soft, which is going to be rough for him. We could still have opportunities here simply because the AI is going to burn their tires a little bit more than they should, I think. But Gasly, the goal here is just going to be to stay with Hamilton if possible. So I think we just turn both of our boys up a little bit here. That should be fine. Gasly is already falling pretty far behind, though. But yeah, they've used, again, this is something that I'm kind of concerned about with the AI right now. They've used 30% about, let's face it. Let me restart this rant, rephrase it. The way that I look at tires is that you don't have 100% tires. You have 70% usable tire and 30% get to the pit tire. Emergency tire. Basically, if you look at a fuel tank, you usually have some emergency fuel tank, emergency fuel in case you end up basically, you know, running out of fuel. At least our car had it. In this case, I'm looking at the tires the same way. You have 70% usable tire, and then you have 30% emergency tire, or rather 10% emergency tire, 20% you better get to the nearest, you know, tire change station. And they've used 30% of their usable tire in basically 6 laps here. They have 40% tire now left for 12 laps. That's not going to be good for them. And I do think that we can catch them by the end of this. Actually, I'm pretty sure we'll catch them by the end of this. I don't think we're going to catch the Red Bulls. They're just a little bit too far ahead. Hamilton will catch. And if I put on a fresh engine here, we would have a lot better chance of catching the rest too. I'll be perfectly honest. It's just how the game works. Now, going full attack, it could be a little bit risky on these hard tires, as, you know, you need to make them last to the end. But that shouldn't be a huge concern here. And honestly, I want Gasly here now to deploy. Get away from Hamilton as much as possible. Because potentially here, we will be able to... We might be able to catch Hamilton with Ocon too. That's going to be the play here. Right now, we're also closing in quickly enough that we might even catch Norris, Sainz, and the, you know, top gang here. 15-7 versus 17-5, 17-9. They're taking care of their tires at the moment. That's a bit slow there from Gasly, though, so maybe not. If we're lucky with the back markers, then we might still make it happen. Alpine now is going to give us DRS. But yeah, it looks like we are just a little bit too far behind here, really, to make this happen. Ocon, however, is going to get Hamilton by the end, so we'll still be able to make something happen. Piastri is going to have to beat the Red Bulls for us to have any chance in the championship. For Gasly now, we could try and deploy. He gets DRS again from a back marker, which is huge here because it just gains us so much time. We're just going to have to deploy now and see if we can do something. If Norris gets detached here, we might be able to catch him. But Ocon, he should be on Hamilton's back very, very soon. a little bit of push on the fuel. But Gasly back to neutral. He's just 4 seconds behind now. As well put Ocon back to neutral too now. He's right behind. The main thing though with Gasly is I don't think we're catching. But if we catch, it would be amazing. But yeah, 2 laps, 2.5 seconds is probably a little bit too much to hope for. And also when we are getting held up by a back marker like that, I believe the Red Bulls were too, but we just ate so much time lost there from the back marker. We're going to have to pray that Drugovic can hold them up enough here. As Ocon gets the overtake done, and we're just going to go ahead and deploy it now. See if we can get away from Hamilton. I did miss that. I'm terrible TV director. Are we close enough here to get DRS? Maybe. No, we're not. Oh, that is a little bit unfortunate. Deploy. Go on, Gasly, you're getting close. I should have ran attack a little bit earlier too, as it turns out. Ocon is actually not getting away from Hamilton, which is also a concern. And we have the Williams and the Aston running side by side. Yeah, we're not catching them here. It was an honorable attempt, and again, I do believe that if we had a fresh engine, we would have had no problems catching them. I'll be perfectly honest. It's just another blunder by me, and we are kind of blundering this championship away at the moment, which is a bit frustrating, to be honest.
Great driving.
Now that's an excellent.
Very, very frustrating. 4th and 5th for us here. For 2nd and 3rd for the Red Bulls, which means they're going to be gaining on us again. And Piastri wins, which means he gains on us in the Driver Championship. He's now up to 2nd place. There is 6 points between the top 3. Constructors, we are still ahead, but they gained 11 points here. We need to really pull ourselves together. And Belgium is probably not the best place to get that done, I'll be perfectly honest. At least we're on the target for the objective, which is 4th. And the long-term objective is also in a, I guess I should say, happy place. Chassis, we're going to install a replacement. We're already making a new one, so it's not really a big deal. And yeah, the components are in a poor condition here. We do have 2 fresh ones. We're halfway through the season. We should have replaced them. And honestly, that's probably what we're going to do now. Before we go into the next race weekend. We do have extra components, as you can see, an extra gearbox. We have an extra ERS. There's no point in using this as much as we have. I am just being a little bit silly, a little bit daft, forgetful, if you will. And that is sometimes what happens. It's basically just me being in a bit of... The best way I can put this is me being in a bit of a time crunch at the moment where I have to... Where I want to try and get some videos recorded, but I have to do it in a efficient manner, and it ends up me forgetting things, and that's really, really bad. So maybe I'll take it a little bit easier with the next video, but I think I'll end this one here. It's still a little bit short, I think, but it should be fine, hopefully. So yeah, thank you for watching. We are getting caught by Red Bull. Let's see if we can maybe improve next time. This has been a couple of blunderful races from my part. Apologies for that. Hope you still enjoyed, and I hope to see you next time. Bye bye.